hapori e mahi ne mātou. Me ka hahuki mātou katoa kia whaihua kia tōtika tā mātou mahi, a matamaia te tiru, whakamua me te hihiri, ka tae e te arahi I roto I te kotahitanga me te aroha. As we deliberate on the issues before us, we trust that we will reflect positively on the communities we serve. Let us all seek to be effective and just, so that with courage, vision and energy we provide positive leadership in a spirit of harmony and compassion. Welcome everybody. Welcome Conrad. It's the first time we've had a public speaker for our Chief Executive Performance Review Committee, and we have a public agenda followed by a number of public excluded items that will follow. Just explaining that now, that's in terms of our obligations as an employer and privacy reasons. So, we've got no apologies today, we're all present and accounted for. Do we have any declarations of interest relating to items on the agenda? No. And then we move on to public speaking. Conrad, welcome. Come up to the table if you like.
Thank you, Mayor Janet. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to this meeting. Somebody, Deputy Mayor, said to me, can everybody hear me? Oh, you're not. Because we're on the line as well. So. Got to stand over here. Okay. Thank you. This is something of a first, the first public speaker at this type of committee meeting. I guess I'm surprised, but then in a way, I guess it's not perhaps unusual in these times. I just want to speak briefly to the letter that I wrote to you, Mayor Janet, on the 4th of February, and as I said to, can't remember who it was, one of the young ladies that was organising me, the letter has neither been responded to or acknowledged, so I'll speak to it briefly here. Everybody's familiar with the content of the letter. I think I managed to circulate it to everybody. I applaud the work that's being done in terms of looking at the money, ratepayer money, public money that is being spent by KCDC on all kinds of projects and things. What the times we're living in now bring us to is the fact that the good old days are gone. The good old days are gone. Taxpayers and ratepayers are looking for accountability. And you only have to have listened to Sir Brian Roche recently and Minister Collins to get an inkling, and of course let's not forget our Finance Minister, Nicola Willis, get an inkling of where we're going. Now where Simon Watts is going to go with the local bodies remains to be seen. But in the meantime, as a ratepayer, and I'm not part of an association at this point, what I want to know, get some comfort if it's possible, is that in fact KCDC is having a good hard look at itself. Now in my letter, one of the questions I asked was, is Mr. Edwards, the Chief Executive, employed by the Council? I'm pretty sure the answer to that is yes. Am I correct?
Yes.
And that Mr. Edwards is responsible for hiring and firing the people in his operation.
Yep.
Okay, that's fine. I also made a comment about what I thought Mr. Edwards' package might be. Frankly, I'm not really concerned about that. I'm concerned about performance. Like my letter says, bangs for bucks. And I think myself and a lot of other ratepayers are going to be looking for more information and more accountability in how KCDC staff work, perform, carry out their duties, and mindful of the fact that it's ratepayers' money they're spending. Thank you.
Thank you, Conrad. Are you happy to take any
Sorry?
questions? Are you happy to take any questions?
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah, first of all, I'd just like to kick off by apologising that there was no acknowledgement of that letter. It was an oversight.
These things happen.
Thank you. Any questions for Conrad? Any response?
Yeah, thanks, Conrad. I'm just wondering can you give us any ideas as to what we need to do to improve accountability and performance?
I think the first thing is, from my perspective, is there is not enough transparency. What am I trying to say? You can't manage, for me, as a manager of God knows how many years, you cannot manage what you cannot measure. So there has to be, for me, there has to be transparency, more transparency in the council's operations, so people can say, oh, you know, and have a view. Now, by this I don't mean that Mr. Edwards' staff get bogged down in lots of detail and answering heaps of questions. And maybe that's a very good point, actually, Liz. Maybe I actually need to think about that and come up with some suggestions which are workable.
Yeah, I'd be happy to talk to you about any ideas you might have.
Okay, very happy to buy your coffee sometime.
Yep. You're on.
Yeah, I look forward to hearing more about that. We are doing a piece of work about how we report and how to make the way we report clearer and more accessible and easier to kind of get to the bottom of. That's something that Liz suggested, and we're doing that work at the moment. So a useful place to start might be the annual report, just having a look at that and seeing what more we could put in there, what might be missing, how we can communicate better through that reporting mechanism. Just quickly, I have been this term trying to increase the kind of transparency and the visibility of our work programs by forming the subcommittees and having updates come to them. For instance, the Climate and Environment Committee this morning, we had some really good updates. They used to be in the form of briefings, and we have had comments from the public that it's not so easy to find out when briefings and workshops are, though we live stream those as well. But if it comes, what I noticed is if it comes onto an agenda and people know it's coming, and it always starts at the same time and it's in that kind of formal environment of a council meeting, then you're more likely to be able to access those presentations. So that we've been working towards this, but definitely, definitely would appreciate any ideas that you have. I'd just like to. There are a few questions in your letter,
Pardon me, Jo?
A few questions in your letter.
Yes.
So whether we are reviewing Mr. Edwards' performance as part of the Bangs for Bucks work, yes, we do. In the public excluded part of our meeting today, we do have a review, and we do those regularly throughout the year, and the Deputy Mayor's been helping with setting a program of reviews and making sure that we set up a system so that that can be implemented by the next council as well. And in the answer to the question, is Mr. Edwards undertaking a Bangs for Bucks exercise with his managers? Yes, they definitely do.
Excellent.
They meet regularly every Wednesday. They pretty much spend all day doing that, and then there's regular meetings and updates in between as well. And the other way we're doing that is through the annual plan, where we, so far so good, we're managing to stick to the projected rates rise, which almost never happens. So it's looking pretty good from that point of view as well. So thank you for raising your concerns and for coming along, and we'll look forward to further conversations.
So the information you have just given was out in the public arena. I think ratepayers would have a lot more confidence than they have at the moment.
Yeah, I think you're very, very right, and thanks for bringing it to our attention. Yeah, thanks for coming along. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Liz?
So leaves of absence can be communicated to my office. No matters of an urgent nature. No updates. Confirmation of minutes on page 6 of the agenda. Thank you, Conrad. Cheers. Any discussion about those minutes? Can I have a mover? Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Coe. All in favour? Aye. That's carried. Can I have a mover, please, that we go into public excluded? Moved by Councillor Coe, seconded by Councillor Handford. All in favour? Aye. That's carried. We're now in public excluded.